What up, Panther Nation, Ropp Star Gang? Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Welcome to the Ropp Star Report, where we break down Carolina Panthers and we break down some NFL every Monday through Sunday, almost basically. Now that we're in the off season, it's gonna be basically Monday through Friday. Obviously, unless like some major news comes out and all that good stuff. So I appreciate everyone joining. Welcome. If you're new here and you like the Carolina Panthers like I like the Carolina Panthers and you like the NFL, and this is the place to be, man. This is the place to be. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. That's it. Feel free to share the live. Feel free to join the Discord. Feel free to follow me on all my social media. Feel free to check out BetUS. Linktree is down below, so go check it out. Man, so why the Carolina Panthers hired Dave Canales. Now, today, I am going to switch things up. It is Friday. So, if people want to come in to the channel, I'm going to share the link. All right. I'm going to share the link. And really, if I know who you are, I will let you in. If I don't know who you are, you will not be coming in. Just so you know. All right. And let me get over here and post this link up. Let me pin this message here. All right, there we go. So I'm opening it up for you guys to come in today. We got a lot of topics to talk about. Today, basically, honestly, guys, I was just like, you know what? Let's let some people come in, but let's talk about some things. All right, let's talk about some topics about Dave Canales. We're going to dive deep in Dave Canales today. Today is basically the Dave Canales show. All right. We are going to dive deep into this. All right. And we got some people already coming in. So I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Fayetteville's in here. Josh is in here. Jadarius is in here. Marcos is in here. So I appreciate everyone that's already in here. So Dave Canales signed a 6-year contract. Guys, I mean, let me know what y'all think in comments. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Or come on to the show just like Jadarius. Jadarius is in here, boy. What's going on, man? Oh, he hopped out. That's all good. Maybe he had a little technical difficulty. It's all good. Promise QS Panda 6 years. Yeah. He signed a 6-year contract, and according to Schefter, that he thinks that Adam Schefter actually thinks the contract's good for up to 6 years. Although it is widely believed that the length of the deal is dependent really on, we all know, David Tepper's patience, and we've seen him get rid of this contracts. We've seen him with these contracts. Well, that's fine. That's no big deal. He might have just had something on his end. But we know the reputation of David Tepper, right? We know the reputation for being a hands-on owner. There's indication that he's starting to let the football people make football decisions. Now, reports suggest that this hire was driven more by Dan Morgan's Sportsology than by Tepper himself. The positivity development for us Panthers fans is to have been eager to see more stability and consistency in this team's front office, right? I think for Canales, the contract lease provides him with some financial security. It allows him to pitch that stability, patience to potential hires, and he will be tasked with installing a new culture, offense for this team, which we know, and which will likely involve, obviously, some changes to this team's coaching staff. Now, the one key piece of the coaching staff that is expected to remain in place is Ejiro Evero. We all know Evero has entered the second year of his third-year deal with the Panthers, and there are no indications that he will be let go. And however, there may be some changes to the defensive coaching staff as a whole. And Canales builds on this new team, right? So I think that the 6-year contract, overall, the hiring of Canales and everything is an exciting development for this team. And I know that maybe there's still some questions about the length of the contract and the makeup of the coaching staff, but there's a reason I feel that to believe that he's the right person to lead this team. And hopefully into a new era of success that we haven't seen in how many years, right? He's got a great coaching background, right? He's got a great coaching background. I believe we did good with this hire. Me too, Grim Reaper. I do too. Now, a couple of observations. I'd like to see him for 6 years, and if he pans out very well, let's hope it's longer than that. Let's hope that they extend him, right? That's the key goal. You want to be able to have a coach. You want to bring in a guy that's going to be here for years, right? You want to bring in this young guy. He's a young guy, right? So you're hoping, AJ Brooks, that he stays here like a Bill Belichick or like somebody, and has that winning formula and can bring hopefully a Super Bowl here, right? Hopefully brings the Super Bowl here, or wins multiple playoff games. It's a lot of hope, right? We don't know, right? We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if Dave Canales is going to be able to revitalize Bryce Young. We don't know that. We don't know what coaching staff he's going to bring in. We don't know what players they're going to bring in the draft and the free agency. There's a lot of unknowns here, but there's a lot to be positive about because of what this guy can bring to the table, I think, because Canales is widely respected, obviously, because of his work with quarterbacks, right? And I think many are questioning the Panther the decision to take a chance on a coach that's just 1 year of play calling experience. But when you look at his resume, which we're going to go over, you got to read between the lines a little bit, because I took a few observations of this guy, watching him speak, watching a couple of videos, going on Twitter. I'm really just doing my research on this guy, right? I'm really going to break down this guy today. We're really going to break down Dave Canales today, because that's what this is about, right? That's what this is about today. And firstly, to me, Carolina seems to be banking on previous relationships. Okay. So the promotion of Dan Morgan, now, obviously named the president of football operations, general manager position, was a telling contribution to this decision. And we know that David Tepper's trust in the front office figure, working together previously at Scott Fitter's right-hand man, seems to have played a role in the decision to hire Canales as well. Canales and Morgan have a relationship for their time together with the Seattle Seahawks, right? And this existing connection may have been enough to sway Tepper to obviously sign this man, right? Secondly, the Panthers were not seen as an attractive destination for many of the top head coaching general manager candidates this year, because with just 2 wins in 2023, some glaring holes across the roster, the Panthers were perceived as a poor light by those around the league, right? So we know Tepper could have offered more money to almost anyone, right? But that wasn't enough to attract some of the more coveted candidates, right? So lastly, the Panthers seemed obviously are remaining to be all in on Bryce Young. We know Canales worked with quarterbacks such as Russell Wilson, Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, and that it tipped the scales in their favor. And the Panthers seemed obviously focused on finding the right leader to bring in the best out of this Heisman Trophy winner, right? Getting a decent return on that substantial investment that you made in Young is high on Tepper's list of priorities, right? Canales appointed represents the team's best shot at making that happen, right? So those are my little observations. Marcos, did you see Kurt Warner 2022 film from the Tampa Bay Detroit playoff game? I did not. I did not. I did not. What did he break down, and what did he say? I'm curious. Let me know in the comments, Marcos. Just give me a couple key points. So let's talk. Let's move on. Here is. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Here's basically his resume. Okay, this is where he's been. This is what teams he's been on. This is what his positions were. This was their records that when he was there, and this is what their playoff record was. So down this side, regular season record, playoff records down here on the side here. All right. So here's a little bit of a resume for this man. Now, he started his career back in 2004, 2015 at Carson High School, where he served as the head freshman coach and offensive coordinator. He moved on to the El Camino College from 2006 to 2018, where he was the quarterbacks coach, special teams coordinator, tight ends coach. And then in 2009, he rejoined the University of Southern Cal as an assistant strength coach, right? So he spent the bulk of his coaching career, though, with the Seattle Seahawks. He joined them in 2010, as you can see, as the wide receivers coach, remained in that role until 2017. And then during his time with that team, he helped develop the Seahawk receiver corps into one of the most dangerous units in the league, right? DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. So he was promoted to quarterbacks coach in 2018, where he worked closely with Russell Wilson to obviously help further development of his game. And we're going to break down their stats here later on. And 2020, Canales was promoted to passing game coordinator, where he was responsible for developing Seahawks passing game strategy. So then he returned his role as a quarterbacks coach in 2022 before leaving the team to take the position of the offensive coordinator job in Tampa Bay. I mean, overall, this guy's coaching experience, if you look at it, spans nearly 2 decades, and he has worked with some of the biggest names in football. And his experience and expertise, I think, are an invaluable asset to the Panthers as we're trying to build a successful team here, guys. Right? How Canales put together a real good game plan to almost take down Detroit. I just sent it to the Discord if you want to check it out later. Yeah, I will definitely do that. I wish I could share it with you guys and we break it down, but YouTube is one of those things where they will ding you for the smallest things, and I can't even do that. I'm gonna sit down. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. So this is this is his resume, man. He's got a decent resume, I'll tell you. He's got a decent resume. All right, let's move on. Sometimes they even ding you for that, Marcos. Sometimes they ding you for that too. Sometimes. Quarterback stats under Dave Canales. Now, here's the thing. In 2018, obviously he was the quarterback's coach for the Seattle Seahawks. All right. He played a pivotal role in Russell Wilson's standout season there. Now, Wilson had a career best completion percentage that year of 65.6% for over 3,400 yards and 35 touchdowns and a mere 7 interceptions, which then earned him a Pro Bowl selection. And that kind of set the stage really there back in 2018 for Canales as a reputation as a quarterback's coach. Obviously, he's able to maximize those players' potential, right? The following year in 2019, Russell Wilson continued to have success, right? He guided again. Canales guided him through another Pro Bowl. Got his percentage up to 66.1%, over 4,100 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions. So the consistency there, obviously, when you hear those stats, right, it demonstrates the ability to sustain excellence from his quarterbacks, right? Then let's talk about 2020, where Canales transitioned into that pass game coordinator, where Wilson's numbers reach new heights, right? 68.8% in 2020, Russell Wilson. 68.8% of his passes, over 4,200 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. Now, this is Wilson's career best performance, resulted yet in another Pro Bowl selection. The impact was obviously evident in the improved efficiency and the productivity of what the Seahawks pass game. Then in 2021, he still contained the consistency is still there. 2021, Wilson still had a 64.8% passer rating, 3,100 yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Now, despite the slightly lower passer rate, Russell Wilson still that year earned a Pro Bowl selection, right? So the consistency that he had from 2018 all the way to 2021 with Russell Wilson, I get it. The talent around Russell Wilson, there's that argument of the talent around him, right? With the DK Metcalf, the Tyler Lockett's, right? Obviously, the defense there in Seattle was also brought up about, people feared more there in Seattle during his time there. They feared more that defense, right? So I get that. But at the same time, the stats don't lie. And the consistency of these stats don't lie, right? Numbers don't lie. So he's able to get these guys, like a Russell Wilson, Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, he's able to continue those high-level performances consistently, right? In 2022, Canales then returned, right, to the role of the quarterback's coach, right, with Geno Smith at the helm, right? Geno Smith that year in 2022 achieved the career best statistics. He had a 69.8% completion, over 4,200 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. That's impressive results, right? For a guy like Geno Smith, a guy that we all know wasn't very good. He was a turnover machine. It wasn't a starter, really. He wasn't a starter in the NFL before he got to Seattle, basically. I think regardless of their experience or prior performance, that he has impressive results in reinforcing proficiency in when developing these quarterbacks. Another thing is you talk about Tampa Bay with Baker Mayfield. Career best numbers for Baker Mayfield this past year. 64.3%, over 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Passer rating slightly decreased, but still Mayfield's overall performance was evident. They won a playoff game, right? They almost beat Detroit, right? So, the stats don't lie. And what he's able to do with these quarterbacks, basically rejuvenating their careers, is something you can't take lightly. As a Carolina Panthers fan and a fan base here, stats don't lie. I know he's going to be looking to build a competitive offense, a dynamic offense here. Historically, the success of the quarterbacks under him is evident, and I think it suggests that Baker Mayfield may indeed have, or not Baker Mayfield, but Bryce Young may indeed have a promising future under his guidance of his new head coach. Now, when it comes to that, right? When it comes to that, it still needs that. There's still holes on this roster, right? That's where Dan Morgan comes into play. Dan Morgan's going to have to obviously be, if Greg Olsen is right, and all these other people believe that, who are highly talked about with Dan Morgan, who are highly, know Dan Morgan and who have spoken about him, says the guy knows how to evaluate talent. So Dan Morgan's going to have to build this roster up to benefit Bryce. Everything here and now, we all know that with the investment they made with Bryce Young, everything they're doing now between Dan Morgan, Canales, and then whoever they bring in as that analytics guy to maneuver that cap space to help out in free agency, to be able to bring in some free agency. I think the free agency guys is going to be more important than the draft. I think the draft, yes, is definitely important, but I think that if we can bring in some talent and depth through the free agency and we can maneuver some cap space to do so, it's going to be more beneficial. Then you can go into the draft with less worries and to fill those holes. But the thing is Canales' ability to elevate quarterbacks to their career best performance bodes well for me, especially when you're developing of Bryce Young, who's a young signal caller. And a lot of people, I was listening to a podcast with PNP on it. I think it was the state fan or whatever it's called, the State Line Fan that he was on. Rashad over there in PP was on. And the guy that was speaking, who runs that show, was saying that he believes that Bryce Young's rookie season starts now because he feels that Bryce Young this past season didn't have enough around him. And I think a lot of people, maybe in my chat and other channels, maybe believe that. Some people don't. Some people don't believe in this kid, and I understand that. But what we're talking about here, what Dave Canales has done with these other quarterbacks, you can't you can't deny what the guy's done. So hopefully he can do the same thing with Bryce. And hopefully between Dan Morgan and whoever the analytics guy, Dan Morgan can evaluate talent. So hopefully he can bring in the right draft results we've been looking for how long. And hopefully the analytics guy that they bring in to be the Robin of Dan Morgan that I've been speaking of, like, the name been thrown around, Brant Tillis, can be someone to come in here and literally maneuver the cap space to bring in some free agent to the talent and depth of this team. See, we got some comments here. Yeah, I'm going to definitely check that video out. I look forward to it. Guys, make sure you pound that like button. I greatly appreciate it. If you're watching over on Twitter, come on over to the YouTube channel. Click the link in the post that I posted. It'll take you right to the YouTube channel. Canales will have some growing pains in his first season. Yes, he will. Absolutely. I hope our fan base doesn't troll him. Yeah, I think that anybody thinks that this guy is just going to revive this whole team in one season between this front office and the new head coach needs to realize that this is not going to be. This is why they gave him a 6-year contract. I think that if the sportsology firm between the sportsology firm and Dan Morgan, who made this call here, to hire this guy, I think it's evident that you have to do what's best, not only for Bryce Young, but for the rest of the team. And the energy this guy brings is already crazy. I mean, he's all over Twitter right now, already tweeting out to Panthers fans saying, how are we feeling? If y'all on Twitter, you go follow him at the Canales coaches. And he's already changed his bio. He's already got Keep Pounding in there. He's already bringing the Keep Pounding name back. He's already saying it. So he definitely is very charismatic, and I appreciate that, because the culture definitely needs to come back here. And you can already see that he's trying to do that already, trying to hype up the fans and, getting on Twitter and shouting out, the Panthers and all that. So I like the hire already. I'm seeing a lot of positivity already. Sorry, I had to take that Zen out. He was also wide receiver coach to guys like Doug Baldwin. Yep. Golden Tate, Tyler Lockett. Yep. And Golden Tate's already come out and said something, hyping him up, saying he's a dog, basically. And I love that. That's what we need. We need a guy to come in here who's going to bring the leadership skills, bring that culture, to Keep Pounding culture back, everything. You know what I mean? I think that we definitely needs to bring leadership skills, right? Brings leadership skills. holds players accountable. And then of course, just the biggest thing is him, developing talent. Developing talent is the biggest thing. Developing these wide receivers is what I meant. Yeah, I mean he definitely developed those wide receivers. Obviously he did. Look at the performances. Josh is coming in with a disagreement here. I'm going to have to disagree on that one, Clay. We don't have the cap to make significant signings in free agents, so I feel the draft is away. Josh, again, the cap can be maneuvered. All right. We just got to get the Robin to the Batman of Dan Morgan to be that analytics guy to maneuver cap. I truly believe that we have to bring in some experienced depth. And that's one of the biggest issues that we've had this past off season. We didn't bring any experienced depth, right? Definitely think we need to bring somebody in. Obviously, the offensive line, whether that's a guard, center, I definitely the guard positions I think are going to be one of the biggest holes that need to be filled. I think the cornerback depth needs to be filled because of the fact that we don't know what's going to happen if Dante Jackson or JC Horn are going to stay healthy through a season. Is Dante Jackson still going to be here? Because are we going to pay him that $15.8 million contract that we could get rid of and open up $15.8 million in cap space if we get rid of him before, I think it's the June 1st or July 1st designation date for that kind of ordeal. So you got to bring in depth in there. Obviously, the wide receiver position, you want to bring in those skill players to help that wide receiver core to bring Bryce some weapons. But I think that obviously offensively, those are the two big things. We've also talked about bringing in a tight end who's a big possession vertical threat. Like I would love to bring in a guy like an Isaiah Likely. There's some guys that maybe that Canales could bring in which we're going to talk about here shortly. That there's guys that I think he could bring here or, get him to follow with him. There's possibilities of that. Right. So we shall see. I think Canales is Bryce's best chance to succeed. Give him weapons. Let's grade Bryce this year with fresh eyes. Yeah, that's the mindset I'm bringing in. My expectations are not high anymore. I'm done being high on expectations. I'm not. My expectations are very low for this team because every year that I come on, every year ever since David Tepper's gotten here, my expectations have been too high, and then I just get let down. And so I'm going to be positive and optimistic in the fact of this hire right now. But in the meantime, I am going to still in the back of my mind, I'm going to hold my expectations to a minimum. Yeah, I think he's trying to bring the keep pounding culture back. And I do like that as well. Yeah, he's already all over Twitter doing that. He's trying to connect with the fans already. He's already changed his bio, like I said. He's already put keep pounding in his bio. He's already shout out to all the fans already. He's trying to get this fan base back, which I think that is huge. And bringing that culture back is one of the biggest things. I love having a coach on here. Or wait, supposed to say coach on here. Wait, what? Two growls, one roar. I watched some of your videos, man. Appreciate you joining the live stream. Shout out to you. So, guys, if you don't know who this guy is, go check him out. Two growls, one roar. He's on Twitter and YouTube. Go check out his podcast. He does good work. Maybe we can collab one day. But I love having a coach on here. Supposed to say coach on here. I'm not sure what you meant by that, but my friend, I'm not sure what you meant by that, but it's all good. This hire was all about saving Bryce. If it doesn't work, then we definitely know Bryce ain't the guy for us, for sure. I think that how much this guy has developed between a Russell Wilson, a Baker Mayfield, and a Geno Smith, and what he's been able to do with these guys, with these guys under him, speaks volumes. And if Bryce does not pan out, I think that we're married to the kid at least for another year or two, probably 2 years, most likely. But yeah, if this kid doesn't pan out, they rebuild the offensive line, get him some weapons, and he still isn't panning out, then we know that he ain't it, right? we truly know that he ain't it. But he's got a lot to work to do this offseason. I've said it before. Bryce has got to work on his footwork. He's got to work on stepping into his throws. He's got to work back on his drop step because he drops back too far, especially under gun. He's 5-step drop, whether that's because he can't see over the line, whatever people want to call that, or under gun, it's a 1-step drop most of the time, under center, it's most of the time a 3-step drop, and he's just dropping back way too far. And of course, the deep ball accuracy is another thing that Bryce has got to work on. So hopefully Canales can work on that with him as well, develop him. He's a SoCal guy, so is Bryce. Both are Latino descent, so maybe they mesh well. Yo, Clay, have you looked into defensive tackle from Texas? Yes, I have. He's on my draft board. Tavondre Sweat is on my draft board. The draft board I showed the other day, he's on there. So I've definitely watched all the guys that I have my draft board that I showed y'all the other day. I have literally watched their game film and their highlights. So definitely know Mr. Tavondre Sweat pretty well. That actually feels different from last year. It feels more like the start of the next regime. It does. I feel like another thing is that Frank Reich came in here like Eeyore, right? And that's boring. He didn't keep it 100. Is that what the kids say? Like, I mean, it was the same thing every time he stepped to the stage. It almost felt like Frank Reich didn't want to be here. You know what I mean? And I think it had to do with, number one, this all-star coaching staff. I still think that there was too many cooks in the kitchen. I think that Frank Reich was just not ready, and he should have just taken a year off after he got fired. There's no reason for you, after getting fired, to immediately just take a job. And another thing is that Mr. Tepper was all over that, because Tepper definitely made too quick of a hire. I mean, it was just like that, right? So it was too quick. That's why they did it this way. That's why he hired that sportsology consultant. And it seems like now that this front office and this coaching staff is going to be able to do more on their own. And I think that Tepper is going to I really do believe now that Tepper will let these guys do. Now, I understand that there's news out there that he's still going to have these guys report to him. But at the same time, coaches and GMs report to the owner all the time. It's not necessarily Tepper being a hands-on approach. Hopefully not. But I think that at the same time, we know in the NFL, these coaches and GMs still report to owners most of the time. So it's just like a weekly meeting. Sometimes it's more than that, but I wouldn't read into that too much. I really do believe that he's going to take a step back, and I think he's going to let Canales do his thing and Dan Morgan do his thing and the guy who does the analytics do his thing. And I think they're just going to report to him and just say, hey, this is what we're doing. And I think that's how it's going to go. And I hope that's how it goes, right? That's all I hope how it goes. What's up, Matt Chatter? Mr. Battlehawks, ready for that USFL league? I know you are. Kind of ready for it too, just to watch some football once the Super Bowl and all that's over with. Clay, if this doesn't work, who do we let go? Bryce, Canales, or both? I think that you give Canales I think you got to if you sign this guy for 6 years, right? And if Bryce, you only have Bryce for 2 years, technically. Technically we're only married him for 2 years. We don't have to keep him more than that, right? I think that you let go of Bryce. If you do all the right things, you build this team up, you build around him, you get him the pieces that he needs between the offensive line and the weapons, right? And he doesn't pan out, then it's on Bryce. We've seen that Canales can develop guys. Between the 3 guys you see right there have all done well under him. So I think that if Bryce doesn't pan out, that's on Bryce. And I truly, that's what I truly believe in. I think that I truly believe in that. I think that coaches can coach, and good coaches can coach no matter what the circumstances are. And maybe I'm kind of contradicting myself with that kind of statement, but I think if you're able to build the offensive lineup and you're able to put weapons and Bryce doesn't pan out, then you let go of Bryce and you let Canales continue to do his thing, because obviously the consistency shows from 2000, basically from 2018 all the way up to 2023 between these three guys. Consistency was there, right? I mean, he got Russell Wilson to 3 straight Pro Bowls, right? He got Geno Smith to become a great starter in the NFL. He rejuvenated Baker Mayfield this past year. So, the consistency's there. So I think it's more on Bryce, Jeff R. I think you got to let Bryce go. Like I said, 2 years. Bryce has 2 years basically to really prove. But again, this team though, also Jeff, I do have to say this. This team's not going to be rebuilt in 1 year. So anybody in their right mind thinks that this team can win this division and go to the playoffs next year just because or this coming year because this guy got hired, you're out of your mind. I don't care what they do in free agency. I don't care if they get the best dudes in free agency and they get the best dudes in the draft. This team still wouldn't be ready. It just wouldn't. But again, it comes down to bringing in. I still truly believe that the free agency is going to be more important than the draft. Yes, the draft's going to be important, but the free agency is going to be more important because you're going to have to be able to maneuver the cap. You're going to have to move on from some contracts, and you're going to have to be able to bring in some talent and depth in here. And that's where that analytics guy is going to come in. The draft will come in with Dan Morgan. He's the guy who can evaluate talent. We know that, right? He's highly regarded in that aspect of things. Bro is the next Vita Vea. Yeah, dude, he's a stud, man. I don't know if he's the next Vita Vea. I could see him being another. I could see him being another Derek Brown, honestly, or more like a Chris Jones. The way he plays, I feel like he's more agile than a Vita Vea. I mean, Vita Vea for a dude is very agile and very, very strong. That's a strong human being. Honestly, he's very fast for his size. So, he could be another Vita Vea though. I mean, I don't disagree with it. When you watch his game film, the guy can move and he can crush some offensive linemen. So I'm all about Mr. Tavondre Sweat for sure. Josh, that's excellent way to put it, really. It is. Josh hit a nail on the head there with that comment for sure. For sure. I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Of course, make sure you pound that like button as you're coming in. I would greatly appreciate it. It goes a long way. Feel free to get in the comment section. Love to hear y'all's thoughts. And if you want to join the live stream, you're more than welcome to as we go through today's show. So it's open. It's an open arms here. Open arms. All right. Follow me to Carolina. Follow me to Carolina. Right? Follow me to Carolina. All right. Now, we got some guys here. Follow me to Carolina. As you can see, you got Mike Evans in the left, top left. You got him in the left corner there. Got Noah Fant in the right. You got Aaron Stein down there at the bottom left. Devin White in the middle. And you got Mr. Shelby Harris, defensive lineman, there at the bottom right. We all know Aaron Stein. I think it's a pressing need, obviously, to help assist this offensive line. He's not a highly profile name, so he's not the sexiest name in the world, but he's got the starting experience, right? This is what I'm talking about, bringing talent and depth, right? He's got over 717 snaps in it, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this past season. So his reliability is there, right? The offensive line depth is the biggest concern here. I think Steiny could provide an immediate upgrade behind key linemen like Austin Corbett or Brady Christensen. I think Corbett is the biggest issue we're going to have. I think Christensen coming off a bicep tear is not going to be as bad as an Austin Corbett who's trying to rejuvenate still from an ACL and an MCL tear, right? I mean, his Corbett's career could be in jeopardy, and it could possibly already is, because of tearing an ACL. You tried to come back from that, and you almost step up, right? You almost step in and start again, and then immediately you get to tear your MCL in the same knee. So Aaron Stiney would be a great depth piece to bring into this offensive line. He's reliable. And he showcased that this past season, having 717 snaps with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Devin White. Obviously, we know Canales is that offensive coach, right? But we know that we still need some defensive needs there. I think Devin White obviously ties with Canales, and you keep Evero from their time at the Buccaneers. I think this could be a potential move. Now, despite of somewhat a down year, I think White's familiarity with Canales could rekindle that relationship and bring him back into a position and bring him some fresh air here, right? Financial constraints obviously could hurdle bringing this guy in, right? Obviously would get given White's projected annual salary, but his addition could elevate the defense alongside if Brian Burns is still here. But of course, with Frankie Luvu, hopefully still here, those guys, bringing a guy like him could definitely benefit this defense tremendously and help guys out like Burns and Luvu if Burns is still here. Noah Fant. This is obviously a positional concern. This is why I brought him in, because when's the last time we've had a really good tight end? It's obviously been since the Greg Olsen days, right? I consider Canales, obviously his offensive focus. I think Noah Fant, acquired from the Seattle Seahawks, could be a solution. Fant's potential, I don't think has been fully realized with the Denver Broncos, but he might flourish under Canales' guidance. Now, with Tommy Tremble, Hayden Hurst already on the roster, the Panthers would need to weigh the benefits of adding Fant, right? You're going to have to weigh that out, the pros and cons of that, right? Shelby Harris, the defensive front, White Chocolate Espresso. I think the top 5 wide receivers and free agents stay with their team. Okay. I thought you were asking me a question. I'll get to your comment though. The defensive front is another area, right, that definitely requires attention. Shelby Harris, who briefly worked with Canales in Seattle, would be a valuable addition. His experience, professionalism, versatility make him an affordable option to help with this defensive line. I think that Harris may be a short-term solution because he's 32 years old, but his contributions could complement a promising defensive unit, right? We know this defense, the Carolina lives off this defense, right? Then, of course, Mike Evans. We all know that this man's name has been thrown around, but I told you guys, I'm only throwing him into this mix because of the connection of Canales. But we all know that the market value does not bode well with our cap space, right? But we obviously need to prioritizing bringing in weapons around Bryce Young. Now, if Mike Evans becomes available from Tampa Bay, which he had a decade-long exceptional career there with a lot of production. I think Canales could make him a prime target here. Obviously, with Evans' potential departure, would mark a significant acquisition for the Panthers, but you got to bring in, I think, offering Young a proven wide receiver and enhancing this would enhance this team's firepower. But obviously, when it comes to Mike Evans, the market value does not seem reasonable. Right? Let me get in some of these comments here. I think the top wide receivers in the free agency stay with their teams. I mean, I totally can see that, man. White Chocolate Espresso. I totally can see that, my friend. I really do. I would love Devin. I would love Devin White too. I think he could if Brian Burns and Frankie Louver are still here and you bring in a Devin White. Oh my God, that bolsters up that defense, that linebacker room tremendously. Um, Shaq is done. Yeah, I think so too, man. I think so too. And that's a bad contract that we're getting hit on by him as well. Just because the Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis hyping him up. That's the reason why Shaq is still here. But we're eating his contract right now. That's the reason why we're in the cap space. One of the reasons why we're in this cap space depth, anyways. I think if Hayden comes back, he'll have a better year. Possibly. He possibly could, right? He possibly could. I think the time off is obviously beneficial to him because of that concussion he got. But Canales can obviously being a wide receivers coach and having some experience coaching tight ends, but then of course being that quarterback guru that everybody talks about with him. I think he could elevate the tight end room. I think he could elevate Hurst and Trimble. I like Trimble. I like what I saw from him this season. I like what I saw from Steven Sullivan. I don't think the tight end room to me is as the biggest need. There's definitely some need there, but I don't think it's the biggest need on the offense. I think it's still obviously the offensive line, the guard, the two guard positions, and the center position. But it's all about bringing talent and depth, and of course the draft. Man, the Sanders and Hurst contracts are bad. Yeah, they are. That's another thing that both of those contracts are killing us too. Taylor Moton's contract's killing us. Dante Jackson's contract's killing us. Those contracts right there, the ones that I just mentioned, Sanders, Hurst, Jackson, Moton, Shaq Thompson. Trying to think if maybe there's another one. I think between those are the ones that are killing us right now. I mean, cold-heartedly hurting us. So it is what it is. Hopefully, whoever the analytics guy comes in here and can work some wonders. Pittman Jr. to me is the best available. Possibly, but I see the Colts trying. It's just like you said, though, White Chocolate. I don't see any of these guys moving on. I know that over there they got Josh Downs over there in Indianapolis, but besides Josh Downs and Michael Pittman Jr., who else are they throwing the ball to over there? Mo Alley Cox, I mean, they got Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss, so they got a two-headed monster in the backfield in Indy, but I just think I would say if the market value wise for us, the best really, if we're talking about wide receiver wise, I mean, the market value, the best one is probably Calvin Ridley or Marquise Brown, at least market value wise. But Pittman Jr. would be definitely, I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be excited. I wouldn't be as ecstatic about it as much as I would for somebody like a T. Higgins, but I wouldn't be mad about it. The cap space can be made easily, man. I'm not worried about that. A couple of restructures post June 1st cuts. Yeah, we're back in business. That's kind of what I'm hoping that we do. I'm hoping that analytics guy is able to do that, and then hopefully we can bring in some talent and depth from a free agent standpoint. They are bad, but I expect them to bounce back. It just depends on the analytics guy. If we get a guy like Brant Tillis, he'll be able to definitely bounce us back. I mean, look what he's able to do with the cap over there in Kansas City. If Hayden Hurst hangs it up, what does that do to the cap? That's a good question, AJ Brooks. I don't know if a guy decides to retire, what happens to his contract? That's a great question. We could look into that. Let's see. If a NFL player retires, how does it affect the salary cap? This is why we have Google, my friends. So in business terms, essentially, AJ Brooks, to your question here, a sunk cost. So any money a team pays a player must be accounted for against the salary cap. If there is dead money in a player's contract and he releases or retires, that change will accelerate on the team's cap for the current year. Does that make sense? So in basic terms, what that means is let me put this in basic terms for you, AJ Brooks. Uh Give me a second here. Okay. Let me put that in basic terms for you. Let me put this in basic terms. So you pay a player a certain amount. So basically imagine your okay, we're the Carolina Panthers, all right? You pay a player a certain amount of money as a part of their contract, right? Now, if that player leaves the team for some reason, like being released or retiring, the money you already paid them is considered a sunk cost. Okay. So in business terms, a sunk cost is money you've already spent and can't get back. So in this case, the team has to account for this spent money against a limit, which we know is the salary cap, which is right. So if a player leaves, there's still some money left on their contract. It's basically dead money, which that means the remaining amount hits the team salary cap for that current year. Basically, it's like a financial consequence that the team has to deal with, even though the player is no longer with them. So there's no way of getting out of his contract, even if he retires or gets released. Moten is 20 something million this year, right? Yeah, it's a big. He's got a big contract. That contract is hurting us. They might be able to restructure it and build some room. And that's probably what that analytics guy is probably going to do. He's probably either going to get rid of some guys that we can get rid of to open up some cap space, and then probably will try to restructure some contracts. If he's smart, he'll try. That's what he'll try to do. He'll try to restructure some contracts, release some guys that don't hurt us in dead cap to open up some more cap space, and then go into the free agency and bring in some talent in depth. And then, of course, the draft. And hopefully that's what I'm hoping. Yeah. Zero way around these bad contracts, basically. And you can restructure them, but that's about as with the bad contracts. The only thing you can do is restructure them, Josh. Canales was great for Baker, but let's talk what he did for Oten. Yeah, he did a hell of a job for Oten. I can see Hurst or Trimble having a really good year. I think so too. I just hope the issue with Hurst is that concussion. How luckily enough we're in the off season now, so rest is obviously evident for him, but definitely needs to go see a specialist. Definitely needs to go see a specialist. I will say that. We need to restructure a lot of contracts this offseason for sure. Starting with Miles Sanders. I mean, it would be great. I mean, they could. I don't know I don't know how much they can maneuver of it. I wish there was a way that I could go through. I think there's a way on Post Track, the salary room, where you can restructure contracts and rebuild the team through the cap space on there, which is kind of interesting. I'll have to mess around with that one day, and maybe we can do a breakdown of restructuring the cap space of the Carolina Panthers. I'll have to mess around with it a little bit. Yeah, but definitely restructuring Miles, I think, would be a good one. Hayden Hurst, I think, would be a good one. I think that we need to actually Panther Raider X. I'm very good in Madden when becoming a cap god. I'm very good at restructuring contracts, and I did actually Panther Raider X. Not gonna lie, I sent them my Panthers rebuild resume of showing them that I would play on all Madden. I showed them that I showed them the settings and everything that I play on, and then I sent them my Madden resume and how I was able to build a staff and and a team, and how I was able to rejuvenate Bryce Young. I'm not kidding you. I sent it in to the Panthers front office. So that it was pretty funny. Never got a response. Never got a response. Never got a response. It's funny. Yo, Toxic Black, what's up, man? How do you feel about that Raheem Morris hire over there in Atlanta, my friend? I think it's well deserved. I think the guy's got a great resume. I was talking about him, I think yesterday. Broke down his background. Two-time Super Bowl winner. He's got a lot defensive minded coach. I think, and he was one of the top guys on my list. Oh, so you don't like that hire? I thought it was a good hire, but yeah, it is what it is. I want restructure because that's pushing it down the road. Same reason Moten's contract is so expensive this year because of pushing money down the road. Restructure. I mean, there's ways around it, Josh. I need to learn more about that. That's why Spot Tracker, guys, if you ever want to mess around and understand salary caps and how it works, a great website on go type in spottrack.com in Google. You can literally learn how to make trades and maneuver cap and maneuver contracts and stuff like that. So there's ways that it can be done, Josh, without it hurting the team long term. There's ways around it. Look at the Saints, man. They did it for years during the Drew Brees era. Now they're just fucked because they have the lowest salary cap coming into this season. Like, it's bad. It's bad. Trash, he's a damn yes man. Sounds familiar, Toxic. Hey, Toxic, it sounds familiar. You know what I mean? It sounds familiar, does it not? Sounds like a place that you've heard before. Yeah, that's probably what happened. That's probably what happened. That's probably what happened. Panther Raider X, whoever, or probably whoever that person was looking at it, they're like, who, what? They might have got a kick out of it. He deserves a head coaching job. I just didn't want him here. I understand. Yeah, I think he does too. I think Atlanta's actually in good hands. Obviously, Toxic Black doesn't like that. But again, Toxic Black, when he was 1-6 with y'all, your team was absolutely ass. You do know that, right? If you go look at that team, that when 1-6, y'all's team was absolutely cheeks. All right. Saints are in cap nightmare right now. Oh, they're in cap nightmare because they put themselves in there, right? They put themselves in there. Who do you think the OC is going to be? I'm hearing Rams might try to get Evero for DC. I think Canales is going to try to keep Evero here. I think Carolina and Dan Morgan too will do anything they can to keep Evero here as the DC. I just don't see. I hope that's wrong. But I hope the Rams don't get him. I hope they continue to block him away from that, but it is what it is. Hopefully they can keep him. That's definitely key for the defense, is definitely keeping Evero here. But because, why? The thing is with that though, White Chocolate Espresso, why go to the Rams to be the DC there when you already have a job here in Carolina and they want you here, right? I just don't get it. If it was a head coaching job and he was able to get, and that's what it was, I guarantee you he would have left. He would leave. But for another DC job, I just don't know. I like the Bucs wide receiver coach. So that is where we're going to next. Could this guy, Brad Ezix, be the guy that Dave Canales brings in, right? He's gonna have his chance to bring his own coaching staff in. Obviously, a crucial position, of course, is bringing that OC. Now, one name that has emerged as the candidate here is that Brad Ezix. He's the wide receivers coach from Tampa Bay. He's obviously a close colleague that probably worked very closely with Canales, obviously being the OC there in Tampa Bay. But they also worked together in Seattle, if you didn't know. Now, J.C. Allen, if y'all don't know, who's a reputable source from the Bucs Game Day on Fan Nation, has indicated that Brad Ezix could be in consideration for the offensive coordinator under Canales in Carolina. Now, Ezix's coaching journey started back in 2019 in the NFL. He joined the Seahawks as an assistant wide receivers coach, working alongside Canales. And then during that time in Seattle, Ezek played a role in the success of Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. Lockett achieved 1,000 yards in each of the 4 years Ezek spent with the Seahawks, setting a franchise record for receptions in 2020. Metcalf also set a franchise record that year with over 1,300 yards. So Ezek has showcased that he can definitely coach up some wide receivers, which contributed to the success of two 1,000 receivers, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Both receivers achieved some impressive performances, according to third best totals of their respective careers. Ezek's coaching timeline, I think, provides definitely some insight into his experience and progression in the NFL coaching ranks. He obviously, as a graduate of the Stanford, right? He was there at Stanford from 2014 to 2018. Transitioned to obviously the Seahawks in 2019. He also expanded his role though with the Seahawks. He served as the offensive quality control assistant quarterbacks coach in 2021. Canales definitely was probably a part of that development there. Returned to his position as the assistant wide receivers coach in 2022. And then his whole career just took a different direction in 2023, where he moved on with Canales over there to Tampa Bay. We know that Thomas Brown's still under contract here, but he's obviously exploring opportunities elsewhere. I think the prospect of Brad Ezek joining the Panthers in a key coaching role gains significance. I think Canales is definitely looking to assemble a staff that doesn't only align with what he's trying to do here, but has relationships with, right? And obviously, Ezek's track record of developing successful wide receivers, his familiarity with Canales, I think makes him a compelling choice for the offensive coordinator position. We know this coaching carousel obviously still continuing here in Carolina. And obviously we'll be on the lookout for those potential updates, potential staff additions, the ongoing evolution of the team under his new leadership. Better chance at a head coaching job like Raheem. Yeah, I can see that. I'm pretty sure he brought the OC Zach Brown with him from the Rams. Oh, Raheem Morris did? Okay. Okay. So that's a lot of misdirection. A lot of there'll be a lot of misdirection, probably a lot of Sean McVay there, having that Sean McVay tree. Probably gonna be a lot of pre-snap motion. Probably gonna try to get the ball out quick there. Whoever y'all decided to get as your quarterback. Toxic, who do you think your quarterback's going to be in Atlanta? Jalen Daniels? Or do you think, Daniels? Or do you think maybe you get Justin Fields? Or do you move up and get Drake May or Caleb Williams? Or do you see Kirk Cousins maybe coming there? Maybe a Ryan Tannehill? Or who do you think's going to come there, Toxic? Who's going to be y'all's next quarterback in Atlanta? Starting now, we need to watch out for new staff hirings for sure. I will definitely be live or updating you guys constantly with new staff hires if it comes out. We'll break them down for sure. Apparently, Bill's interviewing other OCs. Maybe Joe Brady back here. Laugh out loud. I mean, Joe Brady did pretty good for the Bills after they got rid of Ken Dorsey. Can you not say that he did? Or would you say that that's more on the Josh Allen factor? White chocolate espresso. Do you think Joe Brady was the key piece to the success that they had at the end of the season after Ken Dorsey left? Or would you say it was more the Josh Allen factor? That's the question I have to ask you. I'm just curious. I have my thoughts on it, but you just let me know what you think. They're interviewing one of Canales' guy for OC. Not sure if it's the same guy you're talking about right now. It's on the X, though. I think it's a different guy. What's the name of the guy, Josh? I'm curious. because I haven't seen anything on X, and I've been on X a good amount today. Could be interviewing. Mm, I'm just trying to see. Yeah, so the wide receivers coach, they're interviewing permission to interview Buccaneers wide receiver coach for offensive coordinator position. Yeah, it's the same guy, Brad Ezick. That's who I was talking about just now. He's the wide receivers coach. Same guy I was just talking about, Josh. Same guy. Doesn't look like him, obviously, in the picture because maybe the picture that I have up, but it's the same guy. Same guy, same dude. Yeah. I kind of figured that they would because after looking into this guy more, having the background working under Canales, being a wide receivers coach, being a quarterback coach as well, kind of makes sense, right? And obviously, them both working in Seattle and in Tampa Bay, so it makes sense. It definitely makes sense. Bills did more screens with equals less interceptions. Yeah, there was a lot of screenplay. I think they finally started using Cook correctly, which I told my friend Dan, I don't know if y'all know who he is. His name's Dan Mitch. He does a great Buffalo Bills channel on YouTube called Dan Mitch. If you go look it up. Anyways, he was telling me that at the beginning of the year that Damian Harris, he truly believed that he thought that Damian Harris was going to be the best running back out of that Bills room. And I told him, no, he's not. I said, James Cook will be the best running back out of the Bills. And I said, I told you so. I knew James Cook's when you got a guy with the last name, we saw Dalvin Cook, how good he was through years. And most of the time, these Georgia running backs, I would say a good percentage of the time, they pan out pretty well. Georgia running backs normally pan out pretty well. So I told him, I was like, dude, James Cook's going to be your guy. You know? Yeah. So it's the wide receivers coach, Josh. Same guy I was just talking about, Brad Idzik, Idzik. That's how you spell his last name. More running with Cook too. Yeah. You know, I'm looking forward to the games this weekend, guys. I am too. I'm hoping that the Detroit wins. I'm hoping that it's Detroit versus the Ravens this weekend. I'm hoping. I'm tired of the whole Kansas City ordeal. I'm tired of Taylor Swift. America needs Detroit versus Lamar Jackson. All right. That's what I want to see. And I'd love and if that's what I get, great, because I don't care who wins the Super Bowl. I just hope it's a good game. But I would love to see Lamar Jackson win it because I think he doesn't get a lot of credit that he deserves. And there's a lot of doubters and haters out there on Lamar. So yeah, it looks like they've given looks like they're getting some permission from they're going to try to get permission from Tampa Bay to interview Brad Ezick, the guy I was just talking about. Um, you know, let's see. I don't see if there's any other interviews out there right now. I don't see anything. Looks like Dan Quinn, though, is in play for both openings left for Commanders and Seattle. So there's a lot of hype. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on. And I don't even know, the thing is like, is Ben Johnson actually going to go to Washington? Like, I think that, I mean, I think Washington's going to get Ben Johnson. I really do. I just don't understand why Washington just doesn't give it to Eric Bieniemy. That's the thing I don't understand. I don't understand why this guy like Eric Bieniemy does just gets no love. It still blows my mind to me that Washington, the Commanders have yet to move the needle on him. I think he would be a great head coach, but I think they're all in on the I think that the NFL right now, guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think the NFL is trying to transition from these old heads like the Belichicks, like the Andy Reids of the world, like the Pete Carrolls of the world. I think they're trying to move on. I think they're trying to give these young coaches their chances now. And I think they're trying to see who the next Bill Belichick or the next Andy Reid or the next, whoever it is. And that's why younger coaches are getting the hires over some. I think that's where the NFL is transitioning now. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. How does he not get a chance at it? Yeah, it blows my mind because ever since Eric Bieniemy left, I feel like the Kansas City's offense hasn't been as explosive, even though they win games, right? When whether the NFL's rigged or not, some people believe that too. And obviously because of the hype over there with Patrick Mahomes and Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and all that. Um, you know, it's interesting to think about for sure. It's definitely interesting to something that we definitely need to think about. So it does feel like a shift in coaching landscape to the next generation. Yeah, I think that's where it's going. I think that's also the reason why, um, I think that's the reason why, you know, Eric Bieniemy might not be getting a head coaching job. I think that he deserves one though. He's never been a head coach in the NFL. He's one hell of an offensive guru. He's a culture changing head coach. He's a leader. He's a Dan Campbell. Honestly, he's a Steve Wilkes, Dan Campbell like coach, but is an offensive guru. He holds players accountable. I like Eric Bieniemy a lot, and I'm surprised we didn't interview him here either. But at the end of the day, I think that, like I said, I just like this comment here. Josh said the same thing he was agreeing with me with was I just think that the NFL world is transitioning to the younger coaches, and they're trying to find. I think the NFL wants to bring ratings in because we all know that the NFL is all about money. It's a business at the end of the day too. And I think that they're trying to bring these younger generation in for coaches to find either that next Andy Reid or that next, like I said, that next maybe Harbaugh or maybe that next Shanahan or that next McVay or the Flores or, list goes on, right? Belichick's. So I think that's what the NFL is trying to transition to, and that's why we're seeing all these young coaches getting their chances at head coaching jobs. And I think it obviously from a ratings and a money standpoint, it makes sense. They're moving on from the guys who are 70, 60, 70 years old. That's why Big Fangio got let go. He was also not very good. So, well, losing Hill did that too, for sure. Absolutely. Rashid Rice, I think, is going to pan out. White Chocolate Espresso there in Kansas City. I truly believe that Rashid Rice will be a true wide receiver one of these days. I just think it's going to take it's his first year, so it's just going to take some time. If Andy steps down, he should get that job. He might. I mean, there has been rumors that if Andy Reid wins this championship, let's say they win the NFC championship and he wins the Super Bowl, there's rumors that he'll just ride off in the sunset after that. And he's okay with that. I've heard rumors that if Kansas City wins the Super Bowl again, he'll be gone. Like he'll retire. There's rumors out there about that. Bill has turned off so many people that don't want him to break Don Shula's record. I mean, that's another conspiracy, right? Maybe people don't want him. Maybe the NFL doesn't want him to break Don Shula's record, right? Who knows? Who knows? I could see it. I mean, there's so many speculations that go through the NFL all the time, right? And there's speculation it's rigged. People are now, people are getting clicks and views just because they post up a video saying that they think the NFL is rigged because of the Super Bowl logo. They're saying the Super Bowl logo with the colors of the two teams that are going to be in the Super Bowl. They say that like that's who it's going to be. Like the NFL scripted that. Could be. Well, maybe we'll find out. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe it is true. Who knows? But at the end of the day, for the NFL, it's all about ratings. It's all about money. It's a business. Reed and Tomlin are some of the last old school coaches left. And did I leave anyone out? Yeah, basically. I would say that they're basically if you want to say the last old school guys, yeah. Trying to think if we're missing anybody else though. I mean, not really. It is rigged. Toxic believes it's rigged. Also, 71 sounds mean, but nobody wants him to die on the sideline. That's messed up. White chocolate. That's messed up, man. That is messed up. That's messed up, man. Guys, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream today. Y'all are always an awesome audience and always a pleasure to bring, the content to you guys. What was your? Let's see this. I wouldn't say Dan Campbell's an old head. I wouldn't say that. Clay, if the Ravens and 49ers go, it's a bad look. Saw that too. I mean, who knows? I want it to be the Ravens in Detroit because I don't care which team wins, right? I don't care. Honestly, I don't care what any team, even if it was KC and 49ers. It wouldn't matter to me either way, either there. But I think that if you want to bring ratings and you really want people to watch this Super Bowl, you make it it needs to be the Ravens in Detroit. I think that would be the best Super Bowl we've had in years. I think it would be a great Super Bowl. Whether that some people agree or not, that's neither here nor there. Some people will think that I mentioned that the other day to one of my buddies, and he goes, the Ravens would blow out the Detroit, which I mean, the Detroit did play the Ravens in the regular season, and I don't remember what that score was. Ravens versus Detroit. Oh yeah, the Ravens blew them out 38-6. So, but that was the regular season. This is a total, it was also mid-season too. So, things can change. Teams can develop. They can get better. I just think that it would be a lot. I think it would be a great Super Bowl if it was the Ravens and the Detroit, though. The Ravens blew out the 49ers and the Lions the regular season. Yeah. I don't want it to be Kansas City. I don't care on the other side. If it's the Ravens and 49ers, I'm cool with that too, though, Rock, because I think it would be a great Super Bowl rematch, but also I would, as long as it's the biggest thing for me is like, as long as Kansas City is in it. I don't want Kansas City in it. I just don't. The ref's not going to let Kansas City lose. Let's go through Twitter. Let's do some Twitter reactions. What do y'all think? Let's go through some Twitter reactions, and I'll try to skip over the OnlyFans that I follow. Just kidding. All right. So is Mike Evans our wide? So we got one here. Mike Evans. So is Mike Evans our wide receiver target in free agency? I mean, that's a great question. I mean, we kind of answered that earlier, did we not? I mean, he could, again, this could be a guy that follows Canales back to Carolina. Obviously, the relationship's there. And especially if you get the wide receiver coach and the offense, make him the offensive coordinator, Brad Ezick, man, it could be a wide receiver one target there. For me, I think that people are also sleeping on. I think people are sleeping on Marquise Brown. I think that the speed that he brings to the table would be great for Bryce Young to have the ball to throw to somebody to get the ball out quick and out of his hands quick. I think, and you would, Marquise Brown's contract would only be like you could pay him like a 1 year, 16 million. I think it would be worth a shot, but that's just me. See what we got here. Dave Canales is an elite communicator, teacher. His process, yeah, I think so too. Dave Canales is an elite communicator, teacher process. His process is on point in due time. Let's hope the results are as well. Yeah, I mean, we've already talked about that. I mean, the guy is I've been saying this. He holds the 3 check boxes for me. Number one, you can already tell he's a culture changer, right? You can already tell he's a culture changer, right? Because of the fact that he's already all over Twitter, already trying to connect with fans. Definitely an elite communicator. He has to be, obviously, being a great development of quarterbacks, but also a wide receivers coach. So communication is obviously key in those two things, right? Because the quarterback has to communicate with the wide receivers, especially when it comes to play calling and all that. So, and obviously being offensive coordinator, he's got all of that. And he's obviously a great teacher because he can develop players. And we know all about that too. We broke down his resume. So we're reacting to some of these. So Evero Canales must have developed a great deal of mutual respect for each other after facing off twice this past season. Probably. I mean, I don't see why not. Biggest ratings would be Lions versus Chiefs because of Swift connection. I can see that too. My only concern with Hollywood Brown is the injury history. That is a concern. That is a concern. If Dave Canales wants to bring anyone, he'll bring in Mike Evans. I mean, he could. Again, the market value just doesn't match well with our cap space. That's all I got to say. Oh, he definitely knows how to use them for sure. We saw that this season. I mean, Mike Evans is one of the most underrated wide receivers, I think, in our generation or in my generation in the past 20 years, honestly. Canales is already blocking Bucks fans. He understands the mission. Yeah, he does. He's already changed his bio, profile picture, the back, the layout. He's already got keep pounding on there. Like, look at this. Look at this, guys. So I'll go to my profile real quick. Hey, there I am right there. Look at that on Twitter. Look at that. Look at that. He's already doing this. Dave Canales, how we feeling this morning, Panthers? Let's get to work. Keep pounding. Like, he's already, like, look, Dave Canales already's got this changed up. Already got that changed up. Head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Hashtag keep pounding. Like, the guy's already changed everything up. Already tweeted out this 8 hours ago. So, I mean, the guy is already locked in on Carolina Panthers. So, just trying to see if there's anything on here worthwhile. Are we still hiring Brant Tillis? I don't know. Loving it. Me too, man. Loving it. Honestly, you can feel the change, bro, just by him engaging with the fan base. Yeah, he's literally trying to get that culture change back. He knows what that means to this team and the organization and in Charlotte. Like, he is literally trying to bring back that keep pounding culture. Literally. Now that the Panthers have hired a GM and head coach, I'm next most excited about which wide receivers Dan Moore and Cam Nowell are getting. I mean, me too. No brainer, everything. Pre-sources, yeah, that's a no brainer. See, Brad Ezick, yeah, that was the guy I was talking about earlier. Joe Brady might be available for OC. White chocolate, you in on there already? Oh God, OnlyFans. OnlyFans. Yeah, there's not much going on right now. Not much going on right now in the Twitter world. Not much going on. I wonder if the Black Cat Panther podcast is still on. Might have to hop over there and mess with those boys. Let's see what you said here, Panther Raider X. Frank Wright didn't engage with fans, but Canales is, and I like that a lot. Yeah, I mean, like I said, Frank Wright was one of the most boring coaches I've ever seen. And every time you saw him, like I said, he looked like an alcoholic who just drank his 12 pack of Budweiser and came in and had like 100 cigarettes smoked before he walked in some of these press conferences. He was just boring. He was boring. And he's an old and I think, and no offense to him, he's nobody wants that. And I don't think that like the players don't want that. They want a guy that comes in and gets in your face. That's why I think the young coaches are taking over the NFL. They're more energetic, they're more charismatic, they care more. They know what it like, some of these guys know what it takes to get into the NFL. He had to work. Dave Canales had to work his way up just as much as some of these players had to work their way to get in the NFL. Coaches in the NFL have to work just as hard as players do. But I think, like I said before, and I'll say it again, the NFL is transitioning to the younger coaches. That's why we're seeing all these younger coaches getting hired, because they're trying. I think that the NFL world is trying to find that next Bill Belichick or the next, the next big thing, right? The next big head coach. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be the Ben Johnson? Is it going to be maybe Bobby Slowick comes out after? Like, he's going to stay in the Texans. I think Bobby Slowick will stay there. Could it be Ben Johnson, right? Could it be Raheem Morris there in Atlanta, right? Could Mayo be the next coming of the Bill Belichick, right? Like it's all about that's what's going to bring ratings to the NFL. That's why it's transitioning to these younger coaches. But I think it's also from a player's perspective too. You want a younger, charismatic guy who can fire up that locker room. And I think Canales fits the mold definitely in that, with his charisma and how he is. And you can already see that all over Twitter. So, guys, I'm going to hop off of here. Happy Friday. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Of course, as always, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Click the link tree down below. Join the Discord. Make sure you follow me on all of my social media. And don't forget about BetUS with the NFL playoffs this weekend. Sign up for free today. You get 125% bonus on your initial deposit. So go check it out, dude. Look at that. Like show. And as always, guys, y'all know what to do. Keep pounding. Peace.